All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Me here, talking real music in real time and a few real issues in there for real people just like you and just like me. So Paul Stanley from Kiss has done a bit of a 180, or he's made a statement here which has really contradicted the last 2+ years of certain things that he's said. Now, I will say this to Paul Stanley's credit. He never said that anybody who opposes his views on a certain topic should be shut down, but he was very vociferous in his criticism of those people. And a lot of times these days, if you disagree with somebody, then it's called hate speech. It's funny, though, that only works one way. It only works on the side of the argument where, you can't express something that's counter to the narrative. I mean, nobody ever calls the narrative hate speech, the government position. Nobody says, well, that's hate speech. That sounds like it's a bad thing. And they're foisting this on everybody, and they're using those 6 major corporations to kind of drown everybody in the same exact information. And it's very zombie-like. I've seen a lot of zombie-like people the last couple of years, and it's a result, and I'm still seeing them. Despite the fact that we have possibly moved into a different phase of certain things, we still see the zombie-like behavior. And it's, to me, it kind of feels like a mental illness of some kind. And I know you're not supposed to talk about psychology either, because there are certain publications, rock publications and other places that have looked at psychology today, not the psychology of, the era of Freud or something, even though all of that kind of gestated in that time frame. But they won't ever say, well, that psychology was okay, but the current idea about, psychosis, mass psychosis, you can't say that. That doesn't really exist. It's just something that a bunch of people made up who didn't want to be told what to do. Okay, even if that were true, which it isn't, the point being is some people shouldn't assume that everybody wants to do what those people think they ought to do. Anyway, I know that was a bit confusing, and if you didn't follow it, I understand. But here's what Paul Stanley had to say. Day off, and I find myself thinking, cancel culture is more dangerous than what it wants to cancel. That's actually pretty profound. But it doesn't go far enough. And here's why it doesn't go far enough. Cancel culture is dangerous because it's just flat out censorship. That's what I would have said in that one sentence. But he does go on to say, is censorship and silencing people okay if you believe you're right? That is a slope we're already slipping down. He says, you defeat lies with truth, not gags, meaning not putting a gag order in. The gag sounded like it was a joke the way it was worded here, but it wasn't that kind of gag. And like I said, it was a tweet apparently on Twitter. But here's what this article says before we get to read about Paul Stanley's maybe change of heart, or maybe at least trying to be somewhat more fair and balanced, right? Cancel culture has become a globally disputed idea over the past several years. So cancel culture is an idea, according to this article. It is chiefly related to canceling a public figure, organization, brand, or anything else due to an issue that a community or group finds offensive. These prominent figures or other associations face a severe public backlash, often fueled by social media, blocking them from having a notable career. So it's okay to block people from having a career. For some people, I like this, the publicly canceling and boycotting process through collective action has become a powerful tool for social justice. Ding, ding, ding. However, see, this is worded in a way to try to, like, again, it's trying to be diplomatic, but just because it says powerful tool for social justice right there, and most people think, oh, then it's a good thing because it's a powerful tool for social justice. They do say here, however, it has spun out of control for others, meaning their truth, they can't just say, it seems to be out of control, becoming senseless rather than speaking the truth. It is also a common thought that the cancel culture might be causing more problems than ending them due to the cases where protesting overshadowed critical thinking. All right, so that paragraph was fairly balanced, but the fact that they say it's a powerful tool for social justice, well, so, I mean, you cannot just end free speech because you find your cause to be more important. And Stanley does address this. You defeat lies with truth. That is a slope we're already slipping down. So good for him. Good for him. See, I've said a lot of negative things about Paul Stanley over the past couple of years because Paul believed there was only one way that you could solve a particular problem. And I questioned that. And I questioned the way he berated people who didn't think like him exactly, people who had differing opinions. And yeah, I get it. When you dogpile on somebody who puts out a statement and you read all of the contrary statements, that can be quite unnerving. And sometimes this is more of an illustration about how toxic social media is. And people who don't agree with you make it a personal vendetta to try to take you down. And I don't know if that's productive. I think that's a waste of your own time if you pursue that. But we found out the other day, I believe, or at least Elon Musk, from what I understand, found out that Twitter is mostly like AI bots that go around and essentially do exactly what cancel culture does, but it does it, using technology, which is really scary. You can program an entire social media platform to go after people that aren't, spreading the same line that the government wants you to hear, or the corporation, basically one and the same, because they're working in tandem. And it's sad, but next time you even just look at any kind of brand or anything, a service, a product, a rock and roll band, you've got to think to yourself, is this part of the whole umbrella of things that are all walking in lockstep and that are essentially trying to take away my ability to engage in free speech or protect myself or whatever the issue is? Every single day, another issue comes over the horizon, and a lot of it is about distraction. A lot of it keeps everybody off balance, and then they're trying to deal with one thing, and then another thing comes along, and they're already off what they were talking about before, and now they've got to worry about this new issue, and then another one comes. It's, as someone said on my Patreon, they said it's very Cloward and Pivot, if you know what that's all about. It just is. It's just one chaotic crisis after another. And at least Paul Stanley recognizes that, the solution to the problem, if there is a problem, which I don't think there is a problem, but the solution to the problem is far more damaging than the so-called problem. And I think we all have to come to grips with that. Some of us have tuned out, checked out, and we just want to hear some good music. If you're a fan of Paul Stanley and his music, great. It's not my favorite thing, but if you like Kiss, especially their older stuff, which I can tolerate a lot, that's cool. And that's, I think, what we should be focusing on, some of the positive elements that people are bringing forward, and not just finding a way to pull them apart. And whether I like Paul Stanley or not, I did engage in some heavy duty criticism of what he was saying. And to his credit, he's not saying I should be censored. So that's good. That's what people should say, no matter where they are on the political spectrum. But that's what's weird, is there's a divide. There are people that believe in free speech, and there are people that believe that certain speech has to be regulated. And I just think that's not what the First Amendment is. It just, and I do believe, by the way, unlike the President of the United States, that those amendments are absolute. They were drawn up to be hard and fast rules. And now we're starting to hear this, well, this was never designed, the Second Amendment was never designed to do X, Y, and Z. And, I can make a law here or there to kind of, sort of do an end run around whatever amendment that I feel to be too extreme, right? So the founding fathers, the people that set up this country for free speech and freedom of association, that's another good one, bodily autonomy, all of those things, they set that up, and now it's being unraveled, and all under the banner of certain kinds of speech and thought being toxic to, I don't know, the soft, those who can't handle it. I understand having a thick skin versus a thin skin, but I think you get all of the information and then you make a decision. That's informed consent. Otherwise, you can't have informed consent. Pros and cons. So anyway, that's my very little dissertation on free speech. If you'd like to learn more about free speech, read the Constitution of the United States, and you'll find out more about that and a whole bunch of other good stuff that is slowly being forgotten about.